But sorry, Elena, your brother's right. Nikola Tesla is way cooler than Batman. He was born in 1856, what is now Croatia. One day, when young Nikola was petting his cat, a spark of static electricity jumped from its fur to his hand, and in that moment he decided to spend his life studying electricity. He grew particularly interested on its link with magnetism. The relationship between those forces lay at the heart of Tesla's great inventions. It had been known that electric currents produce magnetic fields, or that a moving a magnet where a wire would create a current in a wire. Moving a wire had through a magnetic field had the same result. This phenomenon, electrical magnetic introduction, was first behind practical generators and motors. Using introduction, you could be converting motion into electricity, and electricity back into mechanical motion. By the time Tesla was a young man, electricity was powering industrial equipment and lighting up buildings. But he had already thought that the designs would have proved greatly improved the technology. An introduction could produces alternating current, and when the direction electricity switches back and forth. But AC was strict to work with, but engineers couldn't even figure out how to build a decent AC motor. So generators and motors were built to work with direct current or one-way current. In these systems, the key moving part of the rotor had to physically rub a power source over and over again. They wasted a lot of electricity and their parts wore out the time. Plus, all of these sparks were consistent with fire risk. And in the 1880s, Tesla began to develop an idea for an AC motor, but his plans were not going anywhere in Europe. So he set sail for America. He landed in New York, where he went to work for the world's most famous inventor, Thomas Edison. Edison had developed the first power grid for electrifying the entire cities. It was revolutionary, but like everything else at the time, it relied on DC power. The power plants had to generate low voltages that would be safe to use in the home. So it was a weak current that couldn't travel far, so lots of plants were needed. But Tesla envisioned AC generators could crank out 1,000,000 volts. But that fewer power plants, since higher voltage can be traveled much farther. No, you're right, but it could be dangerous if 1,000,000 volts came out of your wall sockets. But Tesla knew that he could reduce the AC current to a transfer levels with a transformer, and the higher voltage runs through a large coil, creating a sole magnetic field that induces a current that is smaller. The second the coil is smaller, and the weaker the current is loaded. So after you run it through a transformer, it is perfectly safe for home use. No, Thomas Alva Edison hated it. Since he owned the patience for the DC power distribution, he lose money and switched countries to AC, so Tesla quit working for Thomas Alva Edison. But soon his ideas had attracted the attention of a pretty much rich man named George Westinghouse. He built them to AC monitor that he wanted it for Tesla had been dreaming up for years. It was an ingenuous design, but a control rotor had a wire coils on its ends. A set of electrical force were electrocuted in a preset sequence. The magnetic fields would introduce a current in the rolls coils. Then the competing magnetic fields would cause the rotor to spin. And this motor was light years of introduction ahead of anything else at the time. Unlike other models, it ran on AC and a rotor spun without touching anything. Today, vibrations are still used in everything. from cars to air conditioners or something. Next, in the Westinghouse used Tesla's AC power system to light the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which was like a 19th century Disney World. 27 million visitors saw AC in action, and just like that, the war had been alternating and Derek credit pretty much ended. Today, almost electrocuted system on Earth disputes AC power. No, Tesla wasn't finished. Soon he undertook a series of experiments in Wesling's wireless and engineering transmission, and his dream was similar to the wireless technology we enjoy today, a system that could be beating the sports or sorts of information around the globe. The key was high frequency electricity. The AC power comes out on the wall has a frequency of 60 hertz. That means the correct switches directions 60 times per second. Tesla built a remarkable device that could boost the frequency to hundreds of thousands of hertz. And it also booted the power to millions of volts, and it was called the Tesla Coil. And it could be modified to broadcast radio from waves and miles. And in fact, that's what an inventor named Guglielmo Marconi and used it much to Tesla's dismay. Tesla couldn't even convince the courts that Marconi's radio had imprinted on his patents. He kept working on his projects, including a way to dismiss electric power discs wisely. He also said that he was working on a Beijing pin weapon, a force field, and a camera that could be taking pictures of thoughts. But he never took notes, and some of the ideas were probably fantasies. And then as he got older, he started suffering from serious mental illness. Before his death in 1943, he was broke and remembered in his electric ideas more than his serious ones. Yet the same year, the Supreme Court ruled that Marconi had, and in fact, used Tesla's patents. And anyway, the public is more aware of Tesla's accomplishments, and an internet campaign raised millions of dollars to pursue his New York laboratory. The goal is to turn it into a museum dedicated to Tesla's legacy. Oh yes, there will be Tesla Coil, alright, and one large enough to communicate with the Alpha Centauri system. You need to use your inhaler again?